It is 11:30 at night, you are exhausted. You turn off the last light in the hallway and start walking to your bedroom. Suddenly the walk feels longer than it did this morning. The shadows look different. You are pretty sure that coat hanging on the door was not shaped like that before. And you find yourself walking slightly faster than necessary. Not running, you are an adult, but also not running. You know there is nothing in the dark, you know this. And yet some ancient, deeply unreasonable part of your brain is absolutely certain that something is watching you from the corner. Why does this happen? You are a modern human being with access to electricity, deadbolt locks, and the complete scientific understanding that monsters are not real. So why does your brain betray you the second the lights go out? The answer goes back further than you probably expect, and it is simultaneously more logical and more embarrassing than you would hope. Let us start at the beginning. Your fear of the dark is not irrational. It just feels irrational in the modern world because the modern world is extremely well lit. But for the vast majority of human history, darkness was genuinely one of the most dangerous situations a person could find themselves in. Not metaphorically dangerous, actually fatally dangerous. Your ancestors lived in environments where large predators were active at night. Leopards, lions, hyenas. Creatures with significantly better night vision than any human being has ever had. Once the sun went down, the odds shifted dramatically in the predator's favor. Humans who felt comfortable wandering around in the dark at night had a statistically higher chance of becoming someone's dinner. Humans who got nervous stayed close to the fire and did not investigate strange noises in the bushes had a much better chance of surviving until morning and eventually producing children. Fear of the dark was not a weakness. It was a survival strategy so effective that it got passed down through hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution. Your brain inherited the anxious, overcautious, shadow-suspicious version of human risk assessment because every calmer, more relaxed ancestor either evolved the nervousness or did not pass on their genes at quite the same rate. Congratulations. You are the product of a long and distinguished line of people who were absolutely terrified of the dark. But here is where it gets more interesting. It is not actually the darkness itself your brain is afraid of. Research into the psychology of fear has consistently found that what humans are really afraid of in dark environments is not the absence of light. It is the absence of information. Your visual system is your most dominant sense. You rely on it more than your hearing, your smell, or any other input channel by a significant margin. And when the lights go out, your visual system essentially goes offline. Your brain does not respond to this calmly. It responds to it the way you respond to your internet cutting out during an important video call. With immediate, mounting, disproportionate alarm. Because your brain has a rule, a very old rule. A rule that has been hardwired into the threat detection system for longer than language has existed. The rule is unknown equals dangerous. If you cannot see what is in the environment, you cannot assess whether it poses a threat. And if you cannot assess a threat, the safest assumption is that the threat exists. This is called the negativity bias. And it applies to far more than just darkness, but in darkness, it operates at full intensity. Because darkness is the single most complete way to remove your ability to gather information about your surroundings, so your brain fills the gap. And it does not fill the gap with reassuring possibilities. It fills it with threats. The rustle you heard, probably something dangerous. The shape in the corner, almost certainly worth panicking about. The feeling that something is watching you. Your threat detection system is running a precautionary simulation, just in case. Now here is the part that explains why adults, who fully understand that there is nothing scary in the hallway, still feel that creeping unease when the lights go out. Your brain has two systems that handle fear. The first is your rational, thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex. The part that knows very well you are in a safe house in a safe neighborhood, and the coat on the door is just a coat. The second is your amygdala, an almond-shaped structure deeper in the brain that handles emotional responses, particularly fear, and operates significantly faster than your rational brain. The amygdala does not wait for confirmation. It does not check the evidence. It detects the pattern of a potential threat and starts the fear response before your thinking brain has even had a chance to weigh in. By the time your rational mind finishes the thought, there is nothing dangerous in this hallway. Your heart rate has already increased, your pupils have dilated, and your muscles have tensed slightly in preparation for a situation that does not exist. Your rational brain then has to override a physical response that has already begun, which it usually can, but it takes a moment. And in that moment, you walk slightly faster than necessary. There is also a separate phenomenon that makes darkness specifically uncomfortable, in a way that goes beyond just predator avoidance. Humans are intensely social creatures. For almost all of human history, surviving alone was extremely difficult. Being part of a group meant protection, shared resources, and a dramatically higher chance of making it to the next season. And one of the signals your brain uses to determine whether you are safely within the group is visual. You can see the people around you. You can read their expressions. You can confirm they are calm, that nothing has alarmed them, that you are collectively safe. Take away the light and you lose all of that. You cannot see the people around you. You cannot read anyone's face. The social confirmation of safety disappears entirely. And your brain, running on a system that evolved long before electric light existed, interprets this as potential isolation. A state that for most of human history carried its own serious risks. Darkness does not just remove visual information. It removes social information. And your brain treats both as warning signals. Now you might be wondering why some people seem genuinely terrified of the dark, while others barely notice it. Why do some adults still need a small light on to sleep comfortably, while others can fall asleep in total blackness without any issue? Part of the answer is genetics. Some people simply have a more reactive amygdala than others. Their threat detection system runs hotter, responds faster, and takes longer to calm down. This is not a character flaw. It is a neurological variation. Part of the answer is early experience. People who had frightening experiences associated with darkness during childhood, even something as simple as a vivid nightmare at age 5, or a scary movie watched slightly too young, can develop heightened associations between darkness and danger that persist into adulthood. Your brain is a pattern matching machine, and if it learned early on that dark equals threat, that association does not delete itself easily. And part of the answer is imagination. Specifically, how active yours is. One consistently documented finding in research on fear of the dark is that people with more active and vivid imaginations report higher levels of discomfort in dark environments. This sounds like a disadvantage, but think about it from an evolutionary perspective. The person whose brain could vividly simulate what might be hiding in the shadows, who could imagine the leopard before they could see it, had a significant survival advantage over the person who simply waited to find out. Your imagination in this context is a predictive threat simulation tool, and some people's simulation tools are just more active than others. This also explains something you have probably noticed. The fear of the dark is almost always worse when you are alone. When another person is with you in a dark environment, your brain registers the social confirmation of safety. When you are alone, you lose that anchor entirely, and the threat simulation runs without any counterweight. Which is why walking to your bedroom alone at 11:30 feels significantly more alarming than walking to your bedroom when someone else is awake. In the house, rationally, their presence changes nothing about the darkness. Emotionally, your brain treats it as a completely different situation. There is one more layer to this that is worth understanding. Modern humans live with something called hypervigilance in the dark. Researchers have found that in low-light conditions, people are not only more alert to potential threats, they are also more likely to perceive threats in ambiguous stimuli. In other words, the dark does not just make you nervous. It actively makes your threat detection pattern matching worse, in the sense that it produces more false positives. That coat on the door that looks like a person. In full light, your brain correctly identifies it as a coat within a fraction of a second. In the dark, with incomplete visual information and an alert threat detection system, your brain takes longer to resolve the ambiguity. And while it is resolving it, it runs a precautionary fear response just in case the ambiguous shape turns out to be a problem. You are not imagining things in the dark. You are experiencing a system that is working exactly as designed. It is just designed for a world that no longer exists. Which brings us back to 11:30 at night. The lights are off. The hallway feels longer than it did this afternoon. Your threat detection system is running its ancient, well-practiced routine. You are walking slightly faster, you know nothing is there. You know this completely and absolutely. And still some quiet, millions of years old part of you is just not entirely sure. That is not a flaw, that is a feature. A feature that kept your ancestors alive long enough to eventually produce you. A feature that your extremely well-lit, extremely safe modern life has simply not yet convinced your brain to turn off. Turn off the lights tonight. And as you walk a little faster than necessary down the hallway, remember that somewhere deep in the most ancient part of your brain, something very old is still doing its job, still watching, still listening, still absolutely certain that something might be out there. It is wrong almost certainly, but it has been right before.